Tonight's dinner will be brought to you by Spinach, organic, and Top Ramen Beef. And don't forget, Tuna Creations, Thai Chili. If you're going to go Star-Kissed, go bold. A little bit of cheese. First wife was actually Sicilian, half Sicilian, and she taught me how to do this cheese thing. Put cheese in it, it gives it kind of a cheese flavor. She made lots and lots of spaghetti all the time, of course, until she left. I'm not a big pasta eater, but I do eat ramen. This goes for about 3 minutes. We've got about 20 seconds left on it. Need to get one of those things that give those things right there that catches spoons, you know, the little thing that you put in there, you know, all those married couples have them. Put them down, they can catch the spoon. Thai chili. And give the rest to Kitty. Make them very, very protective. They love this Thai stuff. Just like Hudson, you eat anything, don't you, Ledman? It's spicy. Mix in the Thai tuna. And most likely I'll probably eat it with a spoon. We're gonna go ahead and give it a little try. Pretty good. Oh, that must be Newt. Wonder where Jonesy's is. Jonesy, the kitty cat. This Thai chili with ramen is very good. And looky there. It's aliens. Wonder what they're gonna do now. Game over, man.
game over.
So, Ellen Ripley gets a hold of Burke, played by Paul Reiser, and she decides that she's going to join them, even though at first she's hesitant. And they're going to go back to the original planet, Arkan, and where the colony is, Hades. And she decides that she'll join Burke as long as their goal is to wipe out the evil alien. In this case, aliens. Just to make note that Ellen Ripley does tell the cat, Jonesy, she calls him an SHIT head, and she tells the cat that the cat's going to stay at the mothership. So, for what we know, the cat does not join the colonial marines to the original planet, which is LV some odd number. I don't know. I'll have to look up the number, but it's also known as Arkan, so it's easier to remember. I believe it's Arkan. If you want to challenge me, that's fine. It can have a different pronunciation. I'm sure it probably does, but I'm calling it Arkan. It could be Arkian, but regardless, it has a name in that nature, okay? And they're returning back to the original planet to wipe out the alien species, because they do have information that there are many on this planet that they're going to, okay? So that's the next step. All right, so we are inside the militant spacecraft governed by the colonial marines, and you can see they're all kind of laying there. I don't know how long the flight took, so I don't know if it was weeks or months or years. I'm sure they talk about it, but we do know earlier, in prior scene with Paul Reiser plays Burke. Burke explains to Ripley that she had been asleep for 57 years. Now here, I don't think they've been asleep that long, but you can see there's some kind of cryogenetic space bed kind of thing. I don't even know if I even came close to explaining what that possibly could be called. I don't know, it'll be challenged, that's fine. But regardless, they're asleep, and they're in a deep sleep, and they're approaching the planet. And they're all in this little thing. And this is another kind of thing where they wake up, and they're all these colonial marines are doing push-ups and getting in shape. And then there's Sigourney Weaver at the age of 37 playing Ellen Ripley, also getting ready to face her worst nightmare: aliens. All right, so here are all the names and information on the colonial marines. Gorman, Ipone, Hicks, Farrow, Vasquez, Drake, Spunkmeyer, Dietrich, Frost. Sorry, I had a friend that was a Marine named Foster. So Frost, I just said Foster and said Frost are. This name I think is Verbowski, maybe Wierbowski. Looks like Polish name. And then down here at the bottom is Crow with an E. Oops, hit the camera, sorry about that. Crow with an E. And then there's the information. I guess these are like their tags to keep up with them. And there's different things that say TQ1, TQ8. That may be their rank. TQ4, TQ8. I don't know what the TQ stands for. It's probably something. A71 is probably their number. TQ is something that I don't have no idea. And there's a long, like, kind of number there that keeps up with the computer. I also like this shot here that James Cameron chose. It's kind of a mix shot. I call it a mix. Some people call it a dissolve. But you can see that there's two different components going on. You can see kind of in the background, and then kind of there. It looks like you're looking through a screen or a glass or something like that, but it's actually just a dissolve or a mix, or however you want to call it. One thing about the Alien franchise is women's underwear being worn by, of course, Sigourney Weaver. In this case, I think this outfit is almost as hot as the 1979 Ridley Scott's outfit. Well, it wasn't Ridley Scott's outfit, but it was the one she chose was more like tighty-whitey. This is kind of a militant gray kind of outfit that she's wearing. I personally think the first one was more seductive in the 1979 one, when she's trying to get into the spaceship.
and get into the space suit. And there's shots of her in the underwear and things like that. But that's very common in the Alien franchise. Is you get to see Sigourney Weaver usually in her underwear. In this case, it's more of a kind of sport athletic underwear kind of thing. But it is common if you watch the franchise, the Alien franchise, that she is in her underwear. So anyway, I just thought this was kind of a nice little get up here, James Cameron's version, as opposed to Ridley Scott, which I thought was far more seductive. But this is still, still pretty hot. It's not as seductive as Ridley Scott. I thought Ridley Scott nailed it. But anyway, I thought that was something I could talk about. Bishop, the android, is kind of in a way testing the trust of Hudson, the colonial marine. And of course, this is Bill Paxton's star role. Everyone remembers him, but he's playing a knife game where he takes the blade of the knife and stabs it between the fingers, missing the fingers, in a rhythm. But he does it so quick that you immediately realize that Bishop is an actual android. So you figure it out very quickly within the story. So the character here says from across the table, "I thought you never missed, Bishop." And Bishop is looking at his android blood, which is the color of white. You can see it dripping out of the finger there, right about there. Just in about a second, Ripley will look up and say, "No one said an android was supposed to be on the ship," and she's very upset because she had a bad experience with the android that was played by Ian Holm, known as Ash. This android is called Bishop. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. A really important part of the story. Bishop explains that the older model, which was played by Ian Holm, known as Ash, had twitches. The newer model, which Bishop is, has behavior inhibitors, so it's impossible for him to ever harm another human. And he doesn't refer to himself as an android. He refers to himself as an artificial person. Very important in the script, and also very important in the Alien franchise. He's not an android. He's an artificial person. All right, so Ellen Ripley explains to one of the officers that she has a Class 2 rating and she can drive a loader. And that can load missiles onto the ship. It basically is something Cameron included in Aliens, which later becomes an integral part of the plot towards the end. It's a robotic, almost body-like machine that you get into, and it operates mechanically stronger than a person. They call it a loader. And that's one of the Marines' space vessels that's also a militant spacecraft. And there's another vessel the Marines use, very much like a tank. They actually do have some vehicles like this already in the Marines. This is very flat and low to the ground, so it's good for terrain travel and things like that. Something that's very treacherous to travel upon. But that's almost like a tank. It looks like it could survive a nuclear bomb attack. What I think also is cool, this is kind of an homage to the Terminator series and franchise. That actor, and I'll get to his name later, was in the original Terminator. He played John Connor's follower. He was also the time traveler that came back he was the time traveler that came back to save John Connor. John Connor is his name, okay. But he returns back and he's actually, to be honest, in the Terminator series, he plays John Connor's father. But this is actually him as a Marine. He's playing Hicks. We'll get to his name later as an actor. His name is Michael Biehn, also known as Michael Biehn or Michael Bain. I'm guessing probably Michael Bain. Anyway, he was born in Nebraska. His father was a lawyer. He was born in the 1950s, late 50s. I want to guess maybe 1956, maybe 1959. I'll find out his birth later. But anyway, he did play in Terminator as the father of John Connor. And in here, he's playing Hicks, a Marine, or it's actually a colonial Marine, in James Cameron's version of Alien, which is known as Aliens. This is the special edition. You can see the armor there and the cigarette in the mouth. Something is written right here. Semper Fi, looks like. Something to do with that nature. Sempre something, I don't know what that's. L-Rees or something. It looks like some language. Marine aircraft mostly uses gravity at the beginning state. It's dropped like a bomb from this mothership. And Bill Paxton's character, who is Hudson, states that we're on an express elevator to hell, going down. And then they just drop right through space towards the planet. And they're going at a very high rate of speed and just soaring into the planet like a bomb. Then the thrusters are turned on and they approach the rock-like planet known as LV-400 and something. I don't know. The actual name of the planet is LV-426, Archean. So James Cameron kind of introduces something new here in the sci-fi horror genre. It shows here the heartbeat and oxygen level and all the, the good stuff that makes us human right here. So it'll show the brainwave activity, vital signs is what they say. And then here it shows camera. Very similar to what our iPhones do. Because our iPhones can show our heartbeat. It can reveal our heartbeat. We can even post it online. Facebook or whatever platform we want to, and we can also show what we're doing like video. So this is kind of an homage to that, because this is way before iPhones, and it was also way before all being online and things like that. So it's like their own little intranet that they can keep up with people, seeing how they're doing. Isn't that cool? So James Cameron actually introduced this into the genre. It's the first time we've really ever seen it. Now, it is in a few other things, but it's not as detailed as this, is what I'm saying. It's very detailed. It has a monologue explaining all the weaponry, and one of the machine guns they use is known as a pulse rifle. So the colonial Marines are deployed on the rock-like planet, and Vasquez is carrying kind of like a version of an M60. Now, it's a pulse rifle. These smaller pulse rifles are here. This is like a heavy-duty pulse rifle that she carries. Kind of like how a soldier would carry an M60 or a SAW or something like that. A SAW is like a version of an M60, but this is actually connected to, or it's slightly robotic, and it shoots a higher caliber. And Vasquez carries it, which is one of the female Marines, because it operates with a robotic kind of thing, so she can hold it steady, and she uses it throughout most of the picture until finally she is slayed by an alien. Vasquez takes the point, and there's her heavy-duty weaponry, and she's running towards the colony, which is now empty. There's only one survivor, a young girl named Newt, who later meets Ripley and is saved by Ripley. Well, really, she's saved by Christ, but you know what I mean. She's saved by Ripley too. Well, in the plot. So now we're introduced to the inside of the colony, and it's very alien-like. If they ever did a haunted house or any type of theme park kind of thing, they always show these hanging wires and water dripping everywhere, and just the sound of metal clinging and things like that. So the aliens are in there somewhere, but they have the colonies, or the people that are within the colony, hung upside down by their feet with aliens inside their bellies. This sequence is called The Arrival, so you can see another shot of it right here. This is known as the motion tracker, and it can track any type of movement. It is used, not this exact one, but it is used, the idea it was used in the 1979 original Alien by Ridley Scott. But it was more of kind of a tool It wasn't a militant design. This one's more militant and more exact. And you can see it has a layout of the area around it right here. So it kind of can show how far the movement is and where it's at. And this will be used throughout the movie quite a bit. Here's a better look at Vasquez's weapon, which is a heavy-duty pulse rifle. You can see it has robotic parts in it, so you don't have to be that strong to operate it. It's basically fastened to your body. And so she uses it and moves around. And it's kind of like a robotic gun that stays on her. And it shoots a high rapid pace, or high rapid pulse of ammunition. And right now, there's a smaller pulse rifle. I believe that's Hicks, or no, I think it's Hudson. Hudson is holding it. I think Hicks and Hudson are supposed to get mixed up a little bit. All right. So the motion detector kind of goes me 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 me. Kind of makes a heartbeat sound, but it's more electronic than that. And when they go in, they find these hamsters. I don't remember this in the original, but this is a special edition. But I think it is in the original too. But there's these hamsters around. I guess the little girl Newt has collected these hamsters, and they come across it right here. They're probably going to find Newt in a little bit. Newt's the only lone survivor. So this is from Hicks' point of view, but Sigourney Weaver's, Ripley notices this kind of hole in the metal ground, or I don't know what you call that, a grid ground of metal or whatever. But this acid has gone through, and you got to remember, the aliens bleed or they spew acid. So it goes through this metal right here. So she knows that the alien is there because it'll actually spew acid and it'll leak through the metal and everything. So she recognizes this and says, okay, we've got something here, you know? And then it's kind of, it's pretty cool. You're seeing it through Hicks' camera on his helmet. There's Bishop and one of the commanders of the Colonial Marines. They do come across this laboratory by the colonist of these different alien species. Well, it's only one species. It's called a xenomorph. But these are the actual parasitic kind of host. Well, they're not really a host, but they attach to your face and they lay eggs in you. And then it becomes a host. But this is like one of the processes that the xenomorph goes, or is, you know. But these things actually never really turn into alien that you would know, you know. These are only the first process of it. So they cling to your face and they lay an egg inside of you. And then that, develops into what's known as the xenomorph, which then comes through your chest and becomes an alien. It grows up. So this is the first state that it's in. It's kind of hard to explain the whole process, but that's what they come across, and we get to see them in these little glass tubes. You know, it's like a laboratory. It's called Movement, and there she is, Newt. And the first thing you see in the actual original movie is her doll, and then you see her partial face. But in the special edition, you actually see her when she's with the colonist. And she's, perfectly healthy and normal and everything. Here, she's been surviving on her own with that doll. And this is the first time we see her. Isn't that great? And you see her hiding in the back right there behind this wall. So there's Carrie Hinn as a young girl playing Newt. And I never really understood why she survived and she was the only one. But she crawls through this ventilation system. And you can see she found kind of like a little room right here. And so the other aliens, maybe not have known about it, or possibly maybe, her mom found her this space or something. I don't really know. It's never explained why she survived. But somehow she's the only survivor. Maybe the aliens leave a survivor. It brings in more humans or something, or brings in more people, so they can, I guess it's not really impregnate, but so they can use host of other people. and then develop by busting out their chest. Anyway, this is very, very interesting that she is the only survivor, but you can see that she's lived in this ventilation system, and she's about to meet Ripley right here. Just for a future note, this ventilation system that Newt survived in is called Airway E, as an elephant. So Airway E. So she finally gets a hold, or Ellen Ripley gets a hold of Newt. And I think that's the only thing we know of her, is her name is Newt. And she's the only survivor. And she's very frantic, flailing her arms around and kind of squealing like a wild animal. And this is in the Airway E ventilation system right here, which is printed on the wall. All right, so we are given Newt's name. Her name is Rebecca Jordan. And this is her 2nd grade Citizenship Award photo that I guess we'll kind of show it in a minute, but I don't know how I'm really gonna do this. Hang on, just give me a second. All right, there's Newt, known as Rebecca Jordan. That's her real name. And it's a photo of her when she was healthy. Right. So Bill Paxton's character, known as Hudson, finds all of the living organisms, which we think are what's remaining of the colony, and all the people in one area by the cooling tower. So they're going to head over to that area and investigate what they are. Now, I don't know if it's the aliens that they're reading, or the xenomorphs, or the actual colonist, but they're going to head over by the cooling tower. And this is kind of a design that shows the schematic of the entire colony. Just wanted to reiterate, this is the scene called Newt, and they're actually over here. Sorry, I got mixed up. I thought they were there, but they're actually over here, which is next to the cooling tower. Sorry, I don't know why I was pointing here, but they're actually over this way. Hans Rudy Geiger, H.R. Geiger, Swiss artist. This is his design here. Okay, so he brings it in all the way from the original 1979 Alien, Ridley Scott's version, which is H.R. Geiger. Design, so it's the same design. You can kind of see it, how it looks. Very H.R. Geiger. Mission time and video of Apone, he's a colonial Marine, and you can see one of the colonial survivors, or the colonial survivor, one of the colony members have been posted, or I guess pasted onto the wall by the alien slime and everything. It kind of hardens, and I thought they were upside down, but this side he's right side up, but he's got the alien parasite inside of him, or whatever you want to call it, the xenomorph, which will bust out of his chest, or it has already done so, and he's dead now, I guess. But it shows the mission time and everything, so this is pretty cool. And this shows several of the colony survivors throughout the entire movie pasted onto the wall through Hicks' video. And you can see mission time and everything right there. And it's showing the inside of the xenomorph's egg, I guess you could call it an egg, pod or something like that. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, if you've ever seen the old school Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of thing. But you can kind of see its plant organism kind of looking thing, and the little xenomorph creature would be inside. The extraterrestrial evil xenomorph, which is alien. And I don't know the stages of it. I could be off on what a xenomorph is, but regardless, whatever this thing is, alien, it's actually hanging upside down here. There's several of them, and they start to move from their camouflaged wall kind of thing that they create, which is like some kind of H.R. Geiger painting is what they kind of create. But they're upside down right here, and they're going to start coming after them, and they're, they have the word movement, and they have to start getting ready to kill them. The only thing is they've been disarmed because they're right next to a heating element. Well, it's not a heating element, but it's basically like a nuclear reactor that's around them. And they can't shoot off any of the pulse ammunition. They can use flamethrower and shotguns and stuff like that, but they can't use their pulse rifles because it could pierce the nuclear fission or fusion that surrounds the place and helps turns the atmosphere outside into oxygen. Basically, it's like the whole thing that they're around is like a nuclear power plant kind of thing. Anyway, so that's what's going on. So one of the female, you're not going to really be able to see her, you kind of see her here. One of the female Marines gets kind of scattered and picked up by one of the aliens and sets off her flamethrower, which kills, I think, Apon, I think it's Apon is his name. I'm not really for sure, but anyway, one of them gets fried and falls into this, I don't know, this tunnel kind of thing that leads downward. And you can kind of see our red headband here. This is a famous moment where everything's kind of scattered. They're calling out for Frost. Frost is one of the colonial Marines, and all this stuff's going on. Everyone's getting scattered and killed, and the aliens are coming in and kind of pulling them up and killing them. And Vasquez actually secretly held on to some of her ammunition and is already locked and load. And this is the famous moment. You can kind of see her teeth right here, and she's saying, "Let's rock." That is surprising about aliens is the word GD. It's mentioned, I think it's a record-breaking amount of time compared to other horror sci-fi films. I think it did break a record on the amount of time characters within the actual movie say the word GD and blasphemy. So it happens quite a bit, so I would recommend to watch it on VidAngel. Segment's called Stranded. What's happened is one of their exit cruisers was invaded by a full-grown alien, and it kills the co-pilot and the pilot. And so it crashes right pretty much in front of them. Bill Paxton, who's a brilliant actor, who's in Weird Science and so many movies. He did a series on cable called Big Love. A lot of times when I'm trying to say Big Star, I say Big Love. I always get it mixed up, Big Star and Big Love. Big Star is an actual rock band, alternative rock band. I always call them Big Love. But he did a cable series called Big Love, which was about Utah Mormons and polygamy and things like that. Anyway, in this segment right here, Bill Paxton, and this was like his most famous line as an actor, he realizes that the game is over and their exit spacecraft is gone and there's nothing they can do. In a minute, he'll be saying, "It's game over, man. What are we going to do now? It's game over." Rebecca, also known as Newt, has a nice little moment with Sigourney Weaver right here, playing Sigourney Weaver's character, of course, is Ellen Ripley. And this is when she says, well, we better get back soon because they mostly come out at night. Mostly. So this is a nice little moment right after a round barricade when she's talking to Newt about dreams, and she's looking inside of the head of the doll or Barbie doll or whatever it is, and kind of investigating if the doll has scary dreams. And it's a nice little moment between Sigourney Weaver and Carrie Henn, which it really makes the movie, to be honest, is the relationship. And also, you're seeing these people survive on a minimum amount of weaponry and against a very lethal and evil alien. The segment's called Bad News. The aliens have already started to attack, and they had these robotic guns that were used to kind of shoot them away for a while. It's very set up like a zombie film. And Bishop is there to get their attention. Now, Ripley asks, well, what are we doing here? What are we looking for? And then Bishop kind of nods over and points that right there. It's kind of like we'll get to it in a minute. So Bishop points at the emergency venting. So that's something that he'll crawl through later, and we'll talk about that. So he explains that the emergency venting blows every 4 hours, and it's 30 kilometers, which he'll have to crawl through. And we'll get to that plot point later. James Cameron, or Jim Cameron, or however, kind of a moment to have the android. He says, well, it's funny because he goes, well, I'm not real, or so he says, you know, I may be synthetic, but I'm not stupid. So he's going to crawl through this ventilation thing. Really what it is emergency venting. And he has 4 hours to do it, or he'll be disintegrated by a great amount of pressure and fire that will flow through it. Anyway, he's about to get inside of this pipe and crawl through it. We're going to see what it looks like. Here he's laying inside of the tunnel. Right there. Bad news segment, you can see that he's actually, they're going to seal it closed, and he's going to crawl through it. M41A, that's the pulse rifle, an M41A. He's introducing the M41A pulse rifle. He's introducing the M41A pulse rifle to Ripley. That's Hudson. Actually, it's Hicks. Sorry, Hudson's somewhere else. I get them mixed up. That's Hicks introducing the M41A pulse rifle to Ripley. Michael Bean and Sigourney Weaver. Or Michael Bang. Or Michael Bang. However you want to pronounce it. So Hicks is training Ripley on how to use the M41A pulse rifle. It's also a grenade launcher as well. Moment's called Dreamland, and probably the reason why is Ripley goes back and finds Newt hiding under the bed, and now we switch over to Bishop, who has found his way to the remote area. Well, it's kind of an area outside of the compound, and he's going to call in an aircraft remotely, and that device there almost looks kind of like a laptop. He's going to fly in a remote aircraft to be basically their escape pod. So there's Ripley and little Newt, and Paul Reiser's character, Berg, pretty much kind of trapped them in there and released a parasite alien to basically, in a way, kind of impregnate them, or really... not impregnate them, but he wants the alien to use them as host so that he can bring them back to Earth and make a lot of money off of them. He's kind of the Shylock character. So Sigourney Weaver, I know there's English majors around. Sigourney Weaver is playing Ellen Ripley, and there's the parasite. You can see the finger like coming out of the, or into the shot, and then there's a tail wrapped around her neck choking her. So this is kind of a scene because Paul Reisner, who's the Shylock character, wants that alien to basically put an egg in her, and so that he can take her back to Earth and make money off of her. And he took her gun, or the pulse rifle, and locked them in there and turned the monitor off. So she was smart enough to set off the fire alarm, which they're going to come back and realize that the Shylock character tried to take advantage of them and wasn't able to. And then he gets in a lot of trouble. I'm pretty much sure he ends up getting killed. Serves him right.